We now return to Ace Attorney's Chronicles. We're going straight into episode 4 because it looked like the next escapade had nothing to do with this one. So I'm going to assume it's after this one. So, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. 11 chapters.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
This appears to have nothing to do with the first one. At least on the face of it. Right. What is this guy's voice? I've forgotten. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Burya, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. I do this myself. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learnt that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. Wait, weren't we paid like 100 guineas last time? In a lodging... Oh, we turned it down like idiots, didn't we? In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. I must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. Oh, good. Affordable in Victorian England. I'm sure that's going to be great. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. I'm assuming this is Lord something or other. I forget his voice. Good morning to you at this early hour. Right. Oh, yes, well. Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation in British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of the events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. Without being a citizen. It's a very weird setup. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case? Already? And nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually, like the fire in the courtroom. I haven't quite come to terms with it. Have they cleared out the debris yet? What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Well, Lord Van Zeeks. Oh, fuck. So, Lord Van Zeeks, right? The guy with the crazy wackadoodle accents. I actually looked this up on the wiki for this, just to kind of see if it had like a character profile or whatever. Anyway, his name apparently is a very poor attempt at a pun that doesn't translate well. He's like 100% British Lord. So, we've already established though that he talks like an insane person, so we're just gonna continue with that. But this guy though, Willie. Fuck, I've lost the accent. Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. It's gonna be really difficult for me to get back into all this, especially like there's 24 different actors in this. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. Well, that's one less accent I have to try and fix. I doubt it, though. I doubt it. I have doubts. No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? And with all my guineas, too. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Alright. McGilded's death. I don't understand what happened. How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. Yes, it was set on fire. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. But while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? Excuse me. That is being investigated as we speak. But already, police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage of... Is that of McGilded? Why was he in there? That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Shit, we still got it. You're dead, buddy. I don't want to keep doing... Well, I must be making tracks now. It is time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Until later, I can only imagine. Poor Mr. McGilded. So, how did you find your first taste? Great, we've already first taste of our country's Supreme Court. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was, wow, a lot of crazy voices. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in a solemnity of Great Britain's long history. Yes, it was a very solemn affair. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. She can read my mind. She is a ghost. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Especially the part about debtors' prisons. The most advanced in the world, is it? Which was fortunate. But your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Hehehe, that's a weird thing coming. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much, at least, is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? One thing I will say, you know, like the whole praise and whatnot, like, these games, while they give you some sense of accomplishment when you do find something, it is very, very, very scripted. New case. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. I mean, if it's anything like the Phoenix Wright games, they're all going to be murder. But don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? I mean, Susato can. Maybe we're speaking aloud. Maybe I moved my lips. Think. That is to say, no one has died as yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. Oh, goody. So now, I have to say, I do enjoy the variety. From what I remember of the very first Phoenix Wright game, it was very formulaic. You did a lot of things for each of the cases that were exactly the same process. So far, each one has tried to be just a little bit different, even if it's superficial. So now we're kind of, it sounds like we're going to go into the go to different locations and investigate routine that is in the Phoenix Wright games that we haven't actually done at all. We're more than halfway through this game, and they just now are bringing that back. That's 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. A burning coach. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. What kind of law firm are you running here? Oh? If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. If that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. Most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. It would be ask, because you... what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. Oh? That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh. Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Oh, wait, that's him. Something very important, and what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. Great. Another point. He'll be happy to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we'd better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Got a pocket full of chips. Oh. Okay. How do I do this again? Spacebar? This must be the Lord Chief Justice's desk. I believe it's made of marble. Looks more like an over-the-top tombstone that's toppled over to me. I think that's your fanciful imagination at work again, Mr. Naruhodo. Is he a vampire? Is that going to be the twist? Feels like everything that's normally made of wood and paper at home is made of bricks and stone here. I know, that's why this place feels so overbearing and probably cold and drafty. I'm sure. Just look at all the naughty books packed together on these shelves. They go from floor to ceiling. Or, you know, like 8 feet. And they're all books that you couldn't hope to come by in Japan. It's like a dream. Yes, a very bad dream. They're not all about British law, either. There are books about the judicial systems of other Western nations. France, Germany, Spain, Holland? About Russia. Why do you ask? I was wondering about asking the Lord Chief Justice how you say wardrobe in Russia. What do you think? Russian. I think perhaps it's a thought best abandoned. Look at these menacing metal giants facing each other across the room. This is totally like Castlevania Dracula vibe here with the suits and the clock tower. I believe they're suits of armor. Oh, right. I thought maybe they were like the lion dogs we have in Japan guarding shrine gates. No, not at all. In fact, in Europe, suits of armor like these are always possessed by evil spirits, you know? And they roam around in the middle of the night. Really? Is there nothing you don't know, Miss Susato? This book tells me everything I need to know about everything. If you're ever unsure, just ask. Where did she get that incredible tome? Clocks. Is this some kind of clock? Actually, I think we might be inside some sort of giant clock. But those gears are larger than anything you'd find on a steam locomotive even. It's eerie. I'm not sure that's the right word. Do you think clocks are some sort of hobby of his? The Lord Chief Justice, I mean. Well, boys do enjoy fiddling around with machines, don't they? I'm not sure you could fiddle with cogs that size, and I'm certain you wouldn't call him a boy. Still, it's amazing how little noise the cogs make, considering how large they are. There's actually something quite soothing about their precise rhythm. Alright. Inspector. Could we trouble you? What are we gonna go for here? What do you think? I don't know. Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Okay. Isn't it me, you young Japanese upstart? Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, does it? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying, huh? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. It's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It's an unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Has he got a thing for Susato? Unbelievable, how did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongarm has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? Shit, is this a character that's actually famous that I don't know who I'm making a mockery of here? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well. Yes, he features prominently in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Ranced Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? Well, I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. That's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than a man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. Fame's gone to his head, stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. Sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work, especially for the voice acting part. Dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. So, about the case that Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. As a young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road, when she was stabbed from behind. A young woman. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal. But she's still laid up in an hospital, unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. Barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time with this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak Van Crazy Talk. No! Sounds like you've heard of him then. Oh yes, we're very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. That's supposed to be in what's-his-face's voice, I don't know. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. And what of it? Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Agnes McGilded came a cropper in that omnibus when he went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick to everyone, well, I guess he did show up at the end there, didn't he? ominously. If Anziques could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. That's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Right, well, I've filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Roads, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place. That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the Alden cells, you can meet the criminal himself. So you've branded him a criminal already. He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. Is inmate 53. 53, okay. Speak to the jailer. That's not how you spell jail over there. And he'll show you the way. Inmate 53, thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. But then we have to go back to Japan, and the guy dies regardless, right? But if the man they've arrested is innocent, which of course he is, well, maybe possibly questionably innocent, just like last guy, but we have to presume innocence because that's how this game is. You could well imagine he'd be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself, and I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, and so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So, then, shall we? Yes. Let's go! I think we're ready to move. We're ready to move. Briar Road. The scene. The crime. Well, should we go talk to this guy first, or should we go to the Briar Road? Probably here, because then we can be like, hey, we found some things. Yeah. We'll do this. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your hatty dreams come true. I don't see Inspector Gregson anywhere. Shall we see if we can sneak past and investigate the scene of the stabbing? Why should we sneak? I don't want to upset one of those bobbies and be butted on the head by one of those metal helmets. My skull would crack in two, I'm sure. Oh no, an English bobby would never do such a thing. This is a land of gentlemen, you know. Okay. I'm going to end this one here. I will see you next time.